Hello friends, welcome back to NRS Samay, live from Los Angeles. Today we have an incredible show. This is about Proto Village, a 1095 days project that would help develop a remote village in Andhra Pradesh into a prototype of an adequate village cluster, sustainable and replicable. So we have Kalyan Akkipeddi live on air right now, and Suresh will be hosting the show. Suresh, please go ahead and then take it from here. Go ahead, Suresh.
All right. Hi, Kalyan, you there?
Yes, Suresh.
All right, thank you. So, very warm welcome to all the listeners of NRI Samay. This is your host, Suresh. Our guest on today's show doesn't believe in eradicating poverty, but he's someone who believes in creating opportunities such that the poverty is taken care of by itself. And he just doesn't believe it, he practices it. His initiative called Proto Village is all about putting his beliefs into action. Kalyan Akkipeddi, the founder of Proto Village, welcome to NRI Samay.
Thank you so much. My pleasure, Suresh.
Thank you, sir. So I heard you say in one of your presentations at XLRI Management Institute, where you said that the human species is probably one of the most naive species that still hasn't figured out what the purpose of their life is, unlike the ants or the bees. I find it very interesting that you made that observation. Is Proto Village your purpose of life?
Well, sometimes I wonder about that, but I don't think it is. I stopped really wondering about the purpose of life and all of that. I mean, a wise Gandhian a few years ago when I was traveling around the country, that man had advised, and I'll quote him in Hindi, he had said, Krantikari mat bano, sadak bano, which means just be a servant, just be a seeker and not be an activist. And it has left a very deep impression inside my heart, and it says, I mean, when I translate it now, with whatever little I know, it means to me that one should always keep his head low and then mind his next step, and not worry about the purpose of life or all the grand intellectual terms or phrases. The idea is to just find a good direction that you think or you believe makes you happy, and just keep minding the next step, keep working. So, Proto Village to me is a grand idea, which I believe I can spend the rest of my life pursuing, and I don't know if that can be called a purpose of my life, or
Right.
It's something that I would consider worth spending my life doing or pursuing.
Right. Well, you also mentioned briefly about when you were when you were going around the country and you had bumped into this gentleman, Gandhian rather. Can you talk more about your the places that you went around, or the whole journey itself? Why did you decide to take that journey?
Yeah, I mean actually, this one happened early 2008 when I just about quit my job, and I used to work for a company in Bangalore, and I quit the job on sometime in January, and the only thing that I was sure about at that time was I didn't want to spend any more time working to make a company richer, a company that's already rich, a little more richer. And I really found it very boring. And when I quit, I never knew what I was going to do after quitting. So I decided to do the next best thing that I knew. So I decided to just travel. So went from Bangalore to Kanyakumari, and then I decided to travel from there all the way up north to Kashmir. So no matter how long it took. So I just put myself a couple of constraints. The first one was that I would never fly during this journey, and I would mostly use local transport, whether it's a bullock cart or a camel or a horseback or whatever it takes, and walk. So I ended up walking more than 600 or 800 kilometers. I haven't even kept a count of that. And it took me almost 9 months to get to north of Madhya Pradesh. And, so what started off as a time pass journey, which I thought I would finish in like 2 or 2.5 months, it took me almost 2.5 years to finish. And not, I wouldn't say finish, but, it got me to this village. And started working there since then. And I mean that journey in many ways it kind of changed the way I was thinking about the whole social sector and what I should be doing, etc., etc. I had an opportunity to live with a lot of families which are usually shown as the dots in the plots in the World Bank reports or the UN reports about the state of the world. The so-called bottom of the pyramid or below the poverty line families. Right. And I had a lovely time with them, and the one thing that I always felt that was that these guys have their own stories of glory. These guys have their own stories of happiness, their own excitement. Nothing ever gets pictured in those reports. They're somehow categorized as being under a certain line. Nobody knows what that line means, clearly. But when I spent my time, I learned some of the most profound of lessons from these guys, and it just stayed on with me for the rest of the time since then. For example, I lived with a family in Himachal Pradesh. These guys were just picking apples. They had a small hut on the farm by the river Bias, and I went there just for lunch, and I decided to stay back. And I stayed on with them for almost 45 days, just picking apples and teaching their kid a little bit of math and cycling.
Wow.
So, the season changed while I was there. And then they took care of me so very well. And there was absolutely no need to think like an engineer or as an MBA. I just completely forgot about my qualifications. I mean, it was life-changing for me. And there were quite a few experiences in states like Bihar or Jharkhand, even up north. So all in all, I started believing that, and that was around the time when I started getting exposed to these statistics on poverty. Right. And so initially though it saddened and shocked me. I mean, just the way you would expect anybody's reaction to such statistics. Started thinking these really don't, mean much. You at the most you'll feel saddened or shocked. But what would you do with a statistic? Something that says you have 440 million people living below poverty line. What would you do with that information?
Right.
So and these kind of questions, they formed the basis of what I wanted to do eventually. I'm glad I just stuck to what I believed at the time.
Right. So when you took this journey, you had no preconceived notions of doing something, or you had no actual or a roadmap or something planned out in your mind. You just went on your bike and you just took off.
Yeah, absolutely. I had absolutely no idea what I would do, and I think I just took a few days off after quitting, and then I just started off on my journey. And didn't even have enough time to think it through, create a route plan or whatever. Just wanted to go, just wanted to meet as many people as possible, and keep it as general as possible. I had no plan and no idea of what I would do eventually. But somehow it turned out to be a fantastic journey, and I met some of the most incredible people that I've met in my whole life. Right. And they were not from the prestigious universities or anything. They were mostly from the tribal belts of India.
Right.
And I had an opportunity to visit almost every state during that time, and make a lot of friends all over the country. So it was beautiful. And as much as it was a physical journey through the geography of India. It was also a journey that gave me a lot of time to think and reflect. So it was, in that sense, it was also a journey through myself. And, at some level it just gets a little spiritual. So, but I had a great time, yeah.
Right. So are you still in touch with all these people that you met or you became good friends with?
Yeah, most of them, but some people, as luck would have it, we don't have means to keep in touch with. But most of them, yes, I still keep in touch with them, and I have means to connect with them every now and then.
Right. No, at that point, were you documenting all these conversations or all these interactions that you have been having with the people and other people from rather all walks of life?
Yes, I used to put it into my computer at that time. I mean, I used to carry my regular laptop and all of that. Right. But then the problem was that it crashed during one of my journeys, and then I lost all the data. But thankfully, what I was also doing was, I was a pretty old school fellow. I still am, I think. I usually write first with my hand, and then eventually type it a little later. So I have the written stuff, but eventually I think I'll have the time to, put a blog or something like that around it.
I see.
Yeah.
So what I gather is you refuse to accept the status quo and you refuse to see poverty purely in terms of the statistics. You wanted to actually get down further and understand the people who are rather reduced to just being statistics on whoever or whatever report that is.
Yeah. Yes. Basically, the idea is when we utter the word poverty, I mean, there aren't many multidimensional definitions of that word commonly accepted. Now, for example, if we talk about the phrase poverty line, the universally accepted definition of that line is someone who is capable of spending over $1.25 or whatever the number of dollars per day is considered to be over the poverty line, and whoever can't is under the poverty line, so below the poverty line. Right. Now, to me that's completely incomplete. That doesn't define being a human. It somehow indicates to me that if all of us suddenly become capable of spending $1.25 a day, suddenly the world becomes a happier place. Does it? I mean, to me, it appears to be a very loud no. So why even pursue it? So when it's so clear that the answer is no, it's a screaming no, why even pursue it? And people always talk about working at the bottom of the pyramid. I mean, I absolutely can't agree with the phrase bottom of the pyramid, because you can't think of any pyramid without a bottom. So no matter how much you work on the bottom of the pyramid, the bottom is always going to remain. So I don't think the problem is with the bottom. It's somewhere in the structures that we have determined for the society. Somewhere we've gone wrong in establishing the kind of paradigms that drive our lives. So it's just about walking a little backwards and then making sure that we get things right the next time. Sticking to the fundamentals. So.
Right. So how come at the end of this journey you ended up going back to this village in Anuppur district? How did you zero in on this village, saying that okay, whatever you have learned from this 2.5 years of journey, you're going to put everything as a package and go into this village and start working on it?
Right. Basically, once I had this disdain for statistics, I mean, very firmly inside my head. The question was, could I define poverty? And the answer was I could not. And many people that I met could not define it adequately enough for me to be convinced. So I decided, when we can't even define a problem, how are we going to solve it? So instead, on the other hand, there is this growing trend about sustainability, and which is very interesting and something that one can commit to. And the moment we talk about sustainability, it's all about basic needs. We cannot talk about wants and desires and all of that when we talk about sustainability. So, and when we talk about needs, suddenly there is a similarity between all of us. Whether you are in the US or in South America or wherever, it's all the same. All our basic needs are apparently the same. So I decided, why work on eradicating something that we don't even know, when we could probably create something that sounded positive, and it also sounded like a beautiful opportunity to create a place or create the kind of world that we want to live in, instead of working on eradicating something that we don't even know. If we all think that if somehow we can make somebody earn a little bit of money, we've solved all the problem. But that seemed a very incomplete thing. To me, it's like I was faced with a distinction between two things. One is the place, and the other one is people. What do I work on? Do I work on place, or do I work on people? And a little bit of thought just indicated that place is what creates people, amongst other things. Place is what has the capability of feeding all the life forms on it. So it is the place that needs to be preserved. People are just part of it. So we shouldn't be working on the subset if we talk systems thinking. So then that formed the first principle. So I'll work on the place. Now what do I do with the place? What kind of a place do we set up? And what kind of a place is where anybody could live with dignity? And then at that time we framed a question about that place. The kind of place that people would love to live in with dignity. And immediately when I floated that question within my network, about 40 different people from 25 different countries, they volunteered to do that research, help me with that research. And over 8 months, we figured that something like that can indeed be created. We called it the state of adequacy at that time. Adequacy, though sounds mediocre, just about enough. It means that we are sticking to basic needs.
Right.
And once we had that concept note, so that state of adequacy is defined as a state in which a place becomes capable of providing for all the basic needs of all the living forms in a particular region, so they can live in dignity. It's a simple definition. And we identified about 12 different basic needs.
Right.
So then it was just a matter of creating that capability in a particular place, so that all the living forms could just live in dignity and have all these 12 basic needs met.
Right.
So when you look at it from that perspective, humans just become one other resource in making sure that the place becomes capable of providing. So that's when once that concept note was ready, the team of 40 people, it disbanded, and I decided to just go further and take it out of the shelf and demonstrate that concept note in a real place. And at that time I was in Sundarbans, and I decided to start it right there. But I realized after about 20-25 days that language is a huge problem. So language and familiarity with culture.
Right.
So I decided to come down to my own district. I'm from Anantapur district, and so that made me feel a little more at home, and I understood the language, understood the culture, the practices, and various other things. So I decided I toured around the entire district. Of the 1,000 panchayats, I think I visited about 166 of them, and I had about 5 or 6 criteria to choose the place that I would spend the rest of my time in, at least a considerable amount of time in. And after the journey through those 166 panchayats, I had about 8 options in my hand. 8 different places. Then I went and approached the Rural Development Ministry people, and I told them this is what I want to do, and I have these 8 options, and help me choose one. And the Special Commissioner of Rural Development, she helped me identify the one that I eventually picked. So yeah, that's how the journey into this village happened. And when I went to the village, I was a complete stranger, and then now I have more than 300 friends in the village, which is a happy thing to have.
Right. Now you mentioned one thing about meeting the Special Commissioner of Rural Development. Now, what was your conversation like? Like I couldn't walk into a rural development officer and say, hey, I want to start doing this experiment in this village. Which village do you recommend, right?
Right.
That wouldn't sound that practical. So what was your conversation like with the RDO?
Well, basically, I made a presentation, and I told her about these 12 needs that I would be working on, and I told them the criteria with which using which I picked up these 8 options out of the places that I visited, and said, you help me choose, and so her obvious question was, how could I help? So, it's a good idea and all of that, so how could I help? So I told, I'm not looking for funds or any kind of monetary support from the government. I just need, to pick up a place, pick up a village where I could just go and stay. And I'm equally inclined towards all these 8 places, which are at different locations. Right. If there is anything that you could help me with in terms of choosing a particular place, I'll be grateful. So she was quite forthcoming, and she told me a few things that I didn't know about the place. This was one village cluster where there hasn't been an external intervention till then, so no NGOs till that point. It wasn't part of a watershed program, so it was quite untouched by the whole development force till then. So, and it also had a beautiful 18,000 acre scrub forest, and something which immediately I started feeling that it would be a great place to start, the focus on the place, because if it is left on its own, maybe the village would start consuming the forest eventually. So some of factors like that she helped me with, and I picked up this village to work in.
I see.
To live in.
What's the name of the village again? Where was it in the Anantapur district?
It's in a mandal called Chilmattur, and the village's name is Teklodu.
Teklodu, I see.
Yeah. People might have heard about Lepakshi and,
Yeah.
So, Lepakshi designs and all of that. So that temple is about 8 kilometers from this village.
Oh, I see. Got it.
Yeah.
I see. Now, one of the things that is interesting about this village is you said there was no any sort of external intervention up until this point, right?
Yeah.
Now, for them, you are like a foreigner entering their village.
Yeah.
You're accessing their resources, and you're saying that, I'm here to do this experiment to make this village self-sustainable, and that's not an easy conversation to have either, right?
Right.
Because I'm a villager. I know my problems. I know the in and out of the village. I know what solutions I need to implement to solve my problems. And how come I allow you to decide or work on all those aspects? So how did you sort of manage to get over this initial sort of friction?
Well, in fact, it was at that time that my journey really came around to help me. I mean, the kind of people that I had met till then. So, for example, this Gandhian that I had met and whatever he had told me, should you choose to work in a village, the first 3 months would be a honeymoon. Everybody would be after you. Everybody would be very curious about why you're there. So there'll be tremendous amount of love that you'll be overwhelmed with. And then the next 6 months would be a complete period of cynicism. And, so he drew out a calendar for me and gave me that perspective. So when you walk into a village, never walk into a village with the arrogance that you're going to change that place or change those people.
Right.
You go there with sufficient stock of humility and a little bit of shamelessness to take the insult. And you just walk in there to tell them that, ask them for a permission to stay in that space and observe them. That's all you're going to do. Because even to work along with them, you got to know their context. And as someone who has never spent any time in a village till then, apart from the journey, I wouldn't be able to understand their context by just spending a day or two, making a couple of flying visits. So that advice came in really, really useful. So that's exactly what I told the villagers when I first went there. After I made the decision about that village, went and told them that I'll just come every single day and I'll just sit here all through the day and make as many friends as possible. And I just want to understand how you guys live, and I want to learn. So people were quite okay, and within a couple of weeks, I started working with the self-help groups in the village. The scheduled caste groups and various other groups out there, groups of women, self-help groups. So I started working with them, and within, I think, the first month, by the end of the first month, the women said, you're traveling almost 50 kilometers every day to just spend time with us, and you're coming here every day. Why don't you just, we'll give you a house, why don't you stay back?
I see.
You get so tired and you have to drive all the way back.
Right.
And I said, wow, great. So I started staying back. And then eventually in the first rains, and also the other thing that helped me was the year that I went there, it rained very well. So, and that they kind of considered me as a good omen or whatever. So I had an easy entry in that sense. And then started spending time with the kids there in the village. There were quite a few very, very interesting perspectives from these old Gandhian people. This gentleman, he had told me that the best way to the women in the village is through their kids. So all you need to do is carry a bottle of hair oil and a comb and a nail cutter, and whenever you see a kid with a dirty nail or shabby hair, you just clip his nails and nicely comb his hair. And his mother would ask him who did that, and he would tell her that it is you. So you start building a relationship with the women. And all these practical things, which one can't think of. So they just came in very easily to me, through these people. So they all came in handy, yeah. So I would say his calendar worked to the day. If he said 3 months of honeymoon, it was 3 months of honeymoon. And then if it was 1 year of cynicism, it was 1 year of cynicism. I think even now, it's been 2.5 years in the village now. And I believe that about 20 or 25% of the people believe me. As you said, I would always be a stranger, I would always be a foreigner. There will always be a lot of people, a majority of people who think that I'm there to make $1 million or whatever from the World Bank budget or whatever.
Right.
But that always exists, so you gotta just live with it.
So in the 2.5 years, you said about 20 to 25% of the people now started believing you. What kind of work did you do there? What kind of work did you rather implement there that made those people believe in you that yes, he is someone who is going to work, to make the village adequate in your terms, but not to plunder the village or not to destroy the sanctity of it.
Right. One of the first things that the village identified as an immediate concern was the excessive fluoride in water. drinking water, and that is mostly because of the geological reasons. You have to dip more than about 400 feet to get water here. So, and at that depth, because of the geological factors, water is contaminated with fluoride and other things. Unfortunately, in this place, it was just fluoride, which was the sole contaminant. And we looked around for various solutions, and this causes fluorosis, which could either be dental or skeletal. If it is skeletal, then it obviously destroys your bones. And by the time you turn 30, you have bent bones and you have bone pains and various other things which you should not have. So, and in a village which mostly depends on labor.
Now, did you see people in the village actually having fluorosis and having the problems with with their bones and things like that?
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah.
We took pictures, we showed them around to doctors, and we made sure that people knew that there was this case of fluoride contamination. Got the water tested 1 million times, and from every water source available in the village. And eventually, when we looked at the solutions available, that was around the time when I thought I could test out the model. So the principle was the place should come first, not just the people. So whatever solution we use, it had to be eco-friendly. So we immediately opted out of the reverse osmosis. We didn't want to put that there. And we collaborated with Indian Institute of Sciences based out of Bangalore, which was just 100 kilometers away. They had developed a solution, and and they transferred the technology without any fee or any kind of an IP issue. So we immediately set that up and then started distributing water. And then before we did that, I also wanted to demonstrate a different model that would say for the villagers, by the villagers. We declared in the village that someone would have to take that up as a responsibility. Someone would have to set up an enterprise for distributing water. And one villager volunteered. Out of the many, his water source had the least amount of fluoride to be treated. It was most suitable for treatment using this technology. So he set up the enterprise and he started treating the raw water with that and distributing water from there for the rest of the village.
So let me get this straight. So you didn't use any existing or rather proven technologies like the reverse osmosis plants, but you wanted something that's eco-friendly. So IISC let you borrow their technology, which you implemented in the village without any other infrastructure support and whatnot?
Yeah. No infrastructure support, basically. And from the very first day that I stepped into the village, one of the principles was there'll be contribution through participation. There won't be any charity, either in any form. So when friends visited the village and they were educated about the problem, they said they would invest in the enterprise. And most people were like, we don't need the money back. We just want to solve this problem, and if our money can make that difference, so be it. So and they participated in the entire planning and everything. So we developed the business model around the water thing, trained the entrepreneur, so set it up. And
I see.
Yeah.
Now, what exactly is this technology? If you can share without getting too technical, at least for the benefit of our listeners, because I believe right now the fluoride content problem, not just with Anantapur district, Nalgonda, and 6 other districts in Andhra Pradesh, which are severely affected with this problem. And I know that there are a lot of initiatives where NGOs help put up the reverse osmosis plants, which cost about $4,000 to $5,000. So this technology, if it can be implemented within such a short span of time with good results, I presume, then it's actually makes sense to promote this technology and scale it up even further.
Right, but one needs to be careful when scaling up a particular technology, and particularly this one, because this works only when fluoride is the sole contaminant in the water. If you have other contaminants, then probably one needs to look at the other solutions which are available. And I wouldn't be completely aware of them. But as far as the case in which fluoride is the only contaminant is concerned, so this solution I think is the best. They've developed a couple of compositions. One to precipitate the entire fluoride in the raw water. You would just mix that into the water and leave, stir it properly, and then leave it for about 18 hours. And at the end of the 18 hours, you would see the entire fluoride precipitated at the bottom. So this would be the upper tank, and the top water would be tapped into the lower tank. From there, people can just collect their water.
I see.
So
now, has this been implemented in nearby panchayats as well, or is it right now this is only restricted to?
It's actually very funny how the whole thing got replicated. About people have relatives in various other mandals and panchayats, so they kept visiting for festivals. So they would see these treated water and all of that at their relatives' houses, and they would say, how are you managing this? So these guys, they would say, oh, it's so simple, this guy does it here, this villager does it here. So they come, they visit this villager's treatment plant, and then they say, how much did it cost? They say, not much. So however much. And then they started implementing it, and even without any effort, 7 panchayats started replicating it on their own, and that the news somehow went to the collector, his people, the staff, and now there is talks of this being replicated in about 200 panchayats through the government, and
awesome.
And we're not playing any role in replicating it. It's that simple. And people come, they learn, they just go and implement. It's fairly simple. And the best part about this is the waste that is created is just about 2%, 2% solid waste, which we collect, and once in every 6 months we use it in making bricks. So nothing really goes waste, nothing really goes into the earth again.
I see. Now, was this a conscious decision when you are setting up this enterprise that even the solid waste need to be sort of recycled, or this happened along the process of setting this whole thing?
Yeah, that was of primary concern, because otherwise RO seemed to be the best choice. I mean, of course it has its own evils, but it seemed like it is one solution which would clean the water off everything. And but the problem is that it creates about 80% of the waste. So what would you do with that concentrated waste?
Right.
The obvious easiest solution is to throw it back onto the earth. That's a lot of disrespect. So I wanted to be careful about that, because we had an opportunity when we are starting from the scratch. We had an opportunity to think about what could be eco-friendly. So we did that.
I see. Now is brick making already a part of the social strata there, or is it something that you sort of introduced?
Not really. I mean, they used to make bricks. I mean, they burn a lot of firewood and make bricks. I mean, the amount of fluoride that we collect in 6 months' time is not really sufficient to make too many bricks at an economically viable scale. What we do right now is we send it back to IISc. That's where they make the bricks, along with the soil and all of that. They make the bricks there. So we don't get anything out of it. We just consider it as our waste management process.
Right. So, well, this surely is a big success, Kalyan. What you managed to do in the small village the fact that it's now replicated or it will be replicated across 200 panchayats, I think that's an incredible story, remarkable story rather. Do you so how was people's response? Like, I find it hard that even after 2.5 years, again I'm far away from where you are right now, so I can't really see the ground reality. But spending 2.5 years in the village, having this incredible success with solving their drinking water problem, you only have about 20 to 25% of the people still believing in you and what you're trying to do. Does that sort of like demotivate you? Despite all this success, if you still get criticism or negativity and all those things, does that sort of go against what you're trying to do? Like, how do you keep up with this negativity?
Well, I don't consider it negativity at all. I mean, that's just my estimate. I mean, the 20 or 25%. I want to just play safe. But anybody who visits the village, they believe that the whole village is pretty convinced. And but I think that's hard to believe for me, at least as far as I'm concerned. I try to belong to the village, but it doesn't happen overnight. It takes its own time. So I would like to believe that it's a very small percentage of the population that really believes me, and they understand why I'm there, and they understand that I could be useful. And they also understand that I can work hard. So these are things that the faith and the trust they build over a period of time, and that's what you earn. And so my idea is to just keep my head low and keep working, keep minding my next step, and not worrying about how many people really talk bad about me or whatever. That really doesn't occur to me. I mean, sometimes, yeah, I mean, you're thrown into a corner and you are forced to think about these things, but then you quickly snap out of it thinking that, you're not there to think through this emotional drama. You're just there to do what you love doing, and just keep minding your business. Just keep doing it. And I get back on my feet and just continue to work. And many people ask me what the challenges are, and things like that, but I consider nothing as a challenge. I just take one day at a time and then, keep working with the villagers. And I've over the last 2.5 years, I had absolutely no experience in rural development till then. I've been able to change my course quite a few times, change the way I approach things quite a few times. Right now, I'm dealing with the whole thing at 2 different levels. I plan initiatives. I mean, when I say I plan, it's not really me who plans, but I am involved in planning things at 2 different levels. One is at the village level, where the benefits of interventions are common to the entire population, and the other is at a family level, where I live and work with a farmer's family in the village. So I live with their family, I eat their food and work in their farm. And so my idea is to work with this particular farmer's family and convert his family into a role model, abundant family, which has access to all the resources to fulfill their basic needs, not depending on the market at all. So we built him an eco-friendly house with 12,500 rupees a few months ago, and there are a couple of biogas plants in his farm, so that takes care of most of his cooking needs. And now we are setting up a windmill there. We just got done with constructing the windmill. Maybe in the second half of December we'll be installing it there. So that guy will have enough energy to run his farm, light it up, and absolutely independent of the grid. And January we're setting up an aquaponic system for him for food production, so he doesn't have to go to market to buy food. So he just has to stay there. He'll have his energy. He'll have his by default organic food, and he'll have clean drinking water. He'll have a beautiful house to stay, which came absolutely affordable. And
wow, and all this you said is in 12,500 rupees?
Yeah, the house is 12,500 rupees, and that's excluding labor, obviously, and labor was provided by a bunch of volunteers from the city, Bangalore. All my friends who keep visiting. Over about 4 or 5 weekends, we finished off the house, and it turned out to be beautiful. There is a delta of about 6 degrees or 7 degrees between external and internal temperature. So,
wow.
which is very good. Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah.
Right. So you have a energy independent, completely organic, a low cost effective house built, and this is all using the local materials that are available.
Completely. Completely local. Otherwise, the idea was, not to spend too much money. Not because we have anything against money, but if I have to make anything replicable, cost is a huge issue.
Right.
I can get funds from various places, but then what about the next village?
Right.
So whatever is done here, it has to be dirt cheap, at the same time be extremely sustainable.
Right.
So that's what is the focus. And aquaponics also, the guy who pioneered the concept, he's flying down from Australia and doing the workshop in the village, and we'll be setting up the system in this farmer's farm, and it'll be able to produce enough food for about 3 or 5 families to start with, and then eventually we hope to produce enough for the entire village community. So we'll be food secure.
I see.
In the village.
Again, sorry for my ignorance, but what is this technology again? The aquaponics?
Yeah, aquaponics is where you use you grow fish in a particular place, and then the fish poop has is very nutrient rich, for the plants. So the dissolved fish waste, is pumped into rectangular containers which have gravel, which are filled with gravel, not soil. And and on top of the gravel is where you plant. You put the saplings, and the water is pumped to the gravel bed. It reaches the roots of the plants, and then it's pumped back into the fish tank through an auto siphon. So it's an infinite recycle of water. Fish cannot survive in their own waste; they die because of excessive ammonia. So the plants and the gravel, they filter off that ammonia, convert that into nitrate, and the plants eat the nitrates, and the filtered water comes back into the fish tank. So the fish help the plants, and the plants help the fish. It's a cycle of synergy, and it's infinitely recycled. So you end up using just about 2% of water as compared to the traditional agriculture.
I see.
So in a drought-prone area, I think this sounds like a great idea.
Very true, very true. So, so you mentioned earlier the word replicable. Now, given where you are, into developing this village, are you at a stage where you can say, someone like me, for instance, if I were to do this in my own village, are you at a stage to say that, okay, this is your step 1, step 2, step 3, so on and so forth? I know it's not entirely academic in nature, but are you at a stage where you can say that?
Honestly, I don't think I'll ever be at that stage. Basically, it's and I'll tell you the reason why. There is no route map to abundance.
Right.
It's mostly a gradual, very continuous, constant, persistent effort to stick to a certain kind of lifestyle and make our own life sustainable. So it's a constant practice, I would say. So it will be replicable in terms of its principles. and that's for sure. And just to be able to more explicitly work on replicability, what we are doing now is a bunch of friends, we are joining together in this effort, and we are procuring a small stretch of land outside of the village to set up a community where we start living there. Everybody has decided to quit their regular jobs, and we'll all live in that village and practice the sustainable life. And instead of going and preaching the villagers what to do, we start doing that ourselves. So we'll build our own houses, we'll produce our own energy, we'll produce our own food, and everything by the rules of sustainability, but not denying ourselves any basic comfort. We take everything from the earth and respect the earth, not violate any of its resources. And if we are able to establish that, I think based on my experience now, which is limited, but I think it's rich enough to be reasonably certain that the villagers around this community would be interested in learning, or there will be a fair bit of exchange between this community and the village. So the idea was to follow what Gandhiji once said: be the change that you wish to see in the world. So instead of going around teaching people, we want to first practice the life, and then if people are interested in it, it's great. And if people are cynical about it, so be it. We gradually work on it. And so we're working on that. In the next 1 month or in the next month or two, we'll be setting up that community and gradually work on the various issues. So we'll have access to the same kind of resources that the villagers will have access to. So we will not be working on external funds or anything. We'll just be working on the soil and generating everything out of it while respecting it. So we're quite certain that that approach would also help. And should we succeed in that, there will be a lot of people like us who might want to set up such communities in every bioregion. Let's say if in a district there are about 10 or 12 bioregions, we could have 10 or 12 such communities set up by different groups of people, and take care of that complete bioregion, and bring about abundance there without depending excessively on the market.
I was about to say that, if you publicize this, the idea of building your own community, I think there will be a lot of people who will quit their boring jobs and might want to join you. So you might have a good problem to solve in your own in your hands.
I look forward to that because I already have a bunch of crazy people who have decided to start living in the community. They all have comfortable, very, very comfortable jobs back in the city, and they would all eventually quit their jobs and start living in the community. So we all want to just pursue that sustainable, simple life. Simple as in very close to the nature. We would know what we are eating and who made it, and we'll bond with each other. So it's like a proper community, the way villages were meant to be, or humans were meant to be. And and also make it economically viable, because we don't want anything to be an advocacy. We don't want to be activists who fight for sustainability. That's absolutely economically unviable. We want to play at the intersection of the two. So develop. So basically get the villagers to earn money in ways that keep the nature safe. So by nourishing and nurturing nature, if they're able to earn money, that's a great thing. So.
Right. Hey, Kalyan, we have one caller, Shrikant from LA. He wants to ask you a question.
Okay, cool.
Shrikant, are you there? Shrikant?
Yes, sir, I'm here, sir. Can I go ahead?
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, Kalyan ji, namaste. I'm listening to you. Actually, I was sleeping and listening, and you awakened me. So the question I have is, I'm looking at a village called Halvi in very close to Adoni, and that's also Kurnool district and Rayalaseema. When you're talking about sustainable village, I'm hoping that these all regions that you are right now working on fall into the same category. Do you think, if at all, I join your bandwagon of all the people that you have right now, that we can absolutely have a blueprint replicatable on at this village in Anantapur district? Because when we talk about sustainability, India is very diverse and each place has various different problems. I'm hoping if it's all Rayalaseema and very much Kurnool district, it should be all the same thing. What do you think about this, sir?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I'm Kalyan, and you can just call me Kalyan. And second, yeah, it's certainly possible. As I was saying earlier, it will be hard to develop a solution blueprint that can be replicated anywhere else. What is certainly possible is, it's possible to replicate the principles. For example, this is how we live with nature. This is how we can create economic models which do not take away exploit any element of nature. We can have principles that can be very easily replicated, elsewhere. And if you do join us, we will certainly have a model that can be taken anywhere else, anywhere else, I would say. So we are looking at documenting every step of the way in terms of setting up this entire community and helping all the village clusters around this community, and that approach can be very easily replicated. Basically what we are ending up doing is, in this community we will set up micro scale businesses which are completely green. So while being ecologically sustainable, they'll also be economically profitable. And we do it at a very micro scale and then get people, the self-help groups from each of the villages in the entire cluster around us to scale them up. So it will become their business. We'll just become the R&D labs, for them, for their industry. So they'll be producing stuff which is eco-friendly, that will fulfill their own needs, and the excess can go to the market and fetch them some money. So they'll be earning money by being eco-friendly. So it will be the best of both worlds. They'll still be in the economic system, but they'll also be closer to the nature. Again. So that's what we are trying to do. And once that is established, I think you can take it to Kurnool district. You can take it anywhere, man. I mean, the possibilities are absolutely limitless.
Thank you, Kalyan.
I hope I could answer you, Shrikant.
Oh, pretty much, yes. Excellent work, and we're really proud of you. Thank you very much, Kalyan.
Yeah, thank you, Shrikant.
Thank you, Shrikant. Well, you mentioned earlier, Kalyan, that you're planning on setting up the windmill.
Yeah.
So on the similar lines, you also have the biogas plants and windmills here. We were talking to another guest on our show a couple of weeks ago, Harish Hande, who is pioneer in bringing solar. You must have heard about him.
Yes. I had a chance to meet him as well.
I see.
A few months ago.
Yeah. So my question was that you have people who have created a niche for themselves and who also believe in eco-friendly related technology. So do you also try to collaborate and work with them to explore more possibilities of working together?
Yeah, absolutely, because one of the principles is no reinvention. Anything that we want to do has already been done somewhere by someone. Right. And so the idea is to stick with what's already known and bring those people who know it, as long as they're okay with our principles. For example, whatever we do here, we want to keep it open source, completely copyleft. so anybody can come here, take away whatever they want and go and do it themselves. So we don't partner with people who hold those IPRs and very seriously. So I mean, that's a whole different subject, but we want to keep it open source, and anybody who is consistent with those kind of principles, we collaborate. And right now the windmill has been developed by a gentleman from Ecuador, and it's completely based on open source designs, and we're training the villagers eventually to build their own. Every farm will have it, and we produce enough energy to run whatever they need to run. So this farm will be run by one windmill, which will take care of all his energy needs, apart from the the biogas, which is already producing the cooking fuel and a little bit of electrical energy as well. It runs the water pump. So yeah, it's all open source. Anybody can. And each of these are being developed by partners, and they're not really from the village or from, it's not me who's developing it. It's all collaboration. Yeah.
Sure. Kalyan, I wish to carry on this conversation, but unfortunately I have to honor the time bounds set on this.
Sure.
But it was a great interaction, Kalyan. I certainly learned a lot. Hopefully the listeners also might have. And congratulate you on not just achieving what you have thus far, but also to be brave enough to question the status quo and challenge it in a way that's constructive and inclusive. And I like what you said earlier, nourishing and nurturing nature will take care of the people and the villagers. So thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much, Suresh, and all the best to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So that was Kalyan Akkipeddi. We'll be back soon next week. This is your host, Suresh, signing off. Thank you.